All right, let's dive in. Today, we're exploring sauna therapy.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, I found this video. It's called Sauna Therapy: Benefits, Mechanisms, and Optimal Use. I'm a little skeptical, I'll be honest,
Okay, yeah.
but also curious, Like everyone's saying saunas are like a workout for your heart.
Right.
But is that true? Is there any science behind that?
Well, you might be surprised. It all comes down to hyperthermia.
Hyper what now?
Hyperthermia basically means raising your body temperature on purpose.
So like giving yourself a fever.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
But in a controlled way. It's like our bodies are amazing, right? They can adapt to stress.
Okay.
So when you're in the sauna, that heat, it's a stressor. And your
Yeah.
body responds in all these beneficial ways.
So it's like what doesn't kill you?
Makes you stronger. Exactly. One of the key things that happens is your body starts producing heat shock proteins.
Heat shock proteins.
Yeah. They're like little repair crews for your cells.
Okay.
So they go around fixing any damage and keeping things running smoothly.
So like they're making sure my cells are in tip-top shape.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Cool.
And the fascinating thing is, these heat shock proteins, they don't just fix heat damage.
No.
Nope. They protect us from all kinds of stress, like oxidative stress, which is linked to aging and disease.
Wait, so you're telling me I can sit in a sauna, sweat it out, and it'll help me fight aging?
It's an area of research that's getting a lot of attention, and some of the studies are really interesting.
Like what?
Well, there was this long-term study of Finnish men,
Okay.
and they found a strong link between frequent sauna use and a lower risk of dying from any cause.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. So is it just the heat shock proteins doing all the work, or is there more to it?
That's a great question.
Mm.
The heat shock proteins definitely play a role, but there's also a direct impact on your cardiovascular system.
This is what I was wondering about. How can just sitting in a hot room be good for your heart?
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
When you get hot, your heart rate goes up
Yeah.
and your blood vessels dilate. So that increased blood flow, it puts a healthy stress on your cardiovascular system.
Like exercise.
Exactly. It mimics the effects of moderate exercise.
A passive cardio workout. Is there like actual proof that this is happening?
There is. Studies have shown that regular sauna use can actually make your arteries more flexible.
Really? How do they even measure that?
They look at something called pulse wave velocity.
Pulse wave velocity.
Yeah, it's a measure of arterial stiffness. Basically, the stiffer your arteries, the harder your heart has to work.
So stiff arteries are bad news.
Exactly. And sauna use can help improve that, so in a way, it's making you cardiovascularly younger.
That is so cool. All right, so we've got potential anti-aging benefits, lower risk of heart disease, maybe even living longer. What else can this sauna do?
Well, let's not get carried away. It's not a miracle cure,
Right.
but it does have a lot of potential benefits. The video also talks about its effects on inflammation.
Inflammation, yeah, I've heard that word a lot, but honestly, I don't really get what it is.
It's basically your body's natural response to injury or infection.
Okay.
Like if you cut yourself, the area around the cut gets red and swollen, right? That's inflammation.
Right.
It's a vital part of healing.
Mhm.
But when inflammation becomes chronic, it's linked to all sorts of health problems.
Ah, so that's the bad kind.
Yeah, chronic inflammation can contribute to things like heart disease, cancer, arthritis, even autoimmune disorders.
Yikes. So it's like your body's defense system going haywire and attacking itself.
That's a good way to put it. And what's interesting is that sauna use seems to have a powerful anti-inflammatory effect.
So it calms everything down.
Exactly. And there are a few reasons for that, like the heat shock proteins we talked about and the increased blood flow that saunas promote.
So by reducing inflammation, saunas could help prevent some of those chronic diseases.
Potentially, yes.
Yes.
There are studies showing a link between regular sauna use and a lower risk of certain cancers, Alzheimer's disease, and other neurodegenerative conditions.
Wow, this is really fascinating. It makes sense that saunas have been used for centuries in so many cultures.
Yeah, it's a testament to the power of this ancient practice.
Absolutely. But before we get too excited, are there any downsides? Like, is it safe for everyone?
That's a good point. We should definitely talk about safety considerations. Saunas aren't for everyone, especially if you have certain health conditions.
Okay, we'll get to that later. But first, I'm curious about the different types of saunas. There's traditional saunas and infrared saunas, right? Are there others?
There are. The video mentions something called Wei-on therapy. It's a Japanese sauna practice.
Wei-on therapy. Interesting.
Yeah, it uses a special type of sauna that provides a gentler, more radiant heat.
How is that different from a regular sauna?
Well, in a Wei-on therapy sauna, you're not directly exposed to the heat source. It comes from ceramic tiles in the walls and floor.
Oh, okay.
So it's a more comfortable, relaxing experience.
I can see that being appealing.
Yeah. And they also apply hot towels after the sauna session to keep your body warm for longer.
So it's like a two-part process. Interesting. But let's go back to the basics for a minute. What's the main difference between a traditional sauna and an infrared sauna?
The biggest difference is how they heat you up. Traditional saunas, the Finnish saunas, they use heated stones to warm the air.
Right, those get super hot.
Yeah, like 70, 100 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
And because the heat is transferred through the air, it mainly heats your skin first and then gradually warms your deeper tissues.
So it's more superficial heat.
You could say that.
Right.
Infrared saunas are different. They use infrared radiation to heat your body directly.
It's like those heat lamps they have at restaurants.
Exactly. But in a sauna setting, of course, the air temperature in an infrared sauna is actually lower, around 40, 60 degrees Celsius.
So it's cooler, but the heat goes deeper.
Exactly. The infrared waves can penetrate several centimeters below your skin.
Huh, that's interesting. Does that make it more effective?
That's a good question, and researchers are still figuring that out. There's some evidence suggesting that infrared saunas might be better for things like muscle soreness and joint pain.
Makes sense. So different saunas for different needs. I'm already thinking about which one I'd want to try.
Huh. Well, hold on. Let's talk about those muscle recovery claims we mentioned earlier.
Oh, right. You said saunas might not be the miracle solution for athletes.
Yeah, it's a bit more complicated than that. It seems to depend on your fitness level.
Okay, now I'm really curious. Tell me more.
Well, if you're not very active, then using a traditional sauna after a workout can actually be good for recovery.
How so?
The heat reduces inflammation and increases blood flow to your muscles, which helps them heal faster.
So for the average person, it's helpful.
Exactly. But for athletes who are already very fit, the effect might not be as noticeable.
Why is that?
Their bodies are already really good at repairing muscle damage.
So the sauna is helping, but it's not as obvious because their bodies are already rock stars at recovery.
Exactly. And in some cases, traditional saunas might even hurt performance in really well-trained athletes.
Really? I thought saunas were supposed to be good for athletes. How could they hurt performance?
It might have something to do with glycogen depletion.
Glycogen.
It's your muscle's main source of energy. The intense heat of a traditional sauna might deplete those stores, leading to fatigue.
So it's like draining your fuel tank before you even start the race.
Yeah, kind of. And this is where it gets interesting. The video suggests that infrared saunas might actually be better for athletes, especially for recovery.
Oh, okay. We'll have to dive into that more later.
Definitely. We'll pick up there in the next part of our deep dive.
All right, cliffhanger. You've got me hooked. Can't wait to hear more about infrared saunas and athletic recovery.
Stay tuned. It's funny how this ancient practice of sauna therapy is suddenly getting all this attention from science.
Yeah, it's like we're rediscovering this ancient wisdom.
Exactly. But speaking of science, let's get back to those infrared saunas.
Yes, you were telling us why they might be better for athletes.
Right, well, remember how traditional saunas could potentially deplete those glycogen stores?
Yeah, like running on empty.
Right. Well, infrared saunas, they seem to work differently because the heat goes deeper.
Okay.
It might be better at promoting blood flow and reducing inflammation in the muscles, but without using up as much energy.
So it's a more efficient way to recover.
You could say that. And there's some interesting anecdotal evidence.
Oh.
The video mentioned that a lot of pro sports teams, like in the NFL, are starting to use infrared saunas.
Really? So if it's good enough for pro athletes?
It's worth looking into, right? But to be honest, we need more research to say for sure if infrared saunas are better for recovery.
So the jury's still out.
Yeah, but the early evidence is promising. And even if it's not a miracle cure for sore muscles, it seems like infrared saunas offer a lot of the same benefits as traditional saunas.
Makes sense. So you get all the good stuff, just with a different kind of heat.
Exactly. They both raise your body temperature, trigger those heat shock proteins, and improve cardiovascular health.
So it comes down to personal preference.
Yeah. Which one feels better for you?
You know, one thing I've always wondered about is the mental and emotional side of saunas.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of people find them super relaxing, right? Is there like a scientific reason for that?
There is. Heat can trigger the release of endorphins, those mood-boosting, pain-relieving chemicals.
So it's like a natural happy pill.
Haha, not quite. But there's definitely a connection between sauna use and feeling better.
It makes sense, I guess. When you're in a sauna, you have to slow down, relax, disconnect.
It's like forced mindfulness.
I like that, forced mindfulness.
Right, your brain gets a break. So when you combine those mental benefits with the physical benefits, It's easy to see why people love saunas.
Yeah, it's a total mind-body experience. But we should probably talk about safety, too.
You're right, it's not for everyone.
Like, who should avoid saunas?
Well, people with certain heart conditions, high blood pressure, epilepsy, they should talk to their doctor first.
And pregnant women, obviously.
Definitely. And anyone taking medication, just to be safe.
So always check with your doctor before trying anything new.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even if you're healthy, it's important to listen to your body. Don't overdo it.
What are some signs that you're pushing it too far?
If you start feeling dizzy, lightheaded, nauseous,
Mm.
that's your cue to get out.
Okay, common sense stuff. What about hydration? That's got to be important. Well,
Super important. You're sweating a lot, so drink plenty of water before, during, and after your sauna session.
do electrolyte drinks help?
They can, especially if you're sweating a lot or staying in the sauna for a while.
Good to know. Any other tips for getting the most out of the sauna experience?
Start slow. If you're new to saunas, keep your first few sessions short, like 5–10 minutes,
Okay.
and gradually increase the time as you get more comfortable. And don't be afraid to try different temperatures.
Find what works for you.
Exactly. Some people love the intense heat, others prefer something milder. The key is to enjoy it. It should be relaxing, not a competition.
Well said. I think we've covered a lot about sauna therapy today, from the science to the practical stuff.
We have.
But before we move on to the last part, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Yeah,
Knowing all this about saunas, how could you fit them into your own life?
that's a great question. Take some time to think about what resonates with you and how sauna therapy could become part of your wellness routine.
And if you're curious but not sure where to begin, stick with us for the final part.
We'll give you all the resources and tips you need to find the perfect sauna experience for you.
Welcome back. It's crazy to think that something as simple as a hot room can do so much for us.
I know, right? It's amazing.
And it's not even some new technology or anything, it's just heat.
Mm.
People have been using heat for health and wellness for ages.
Thousands of years. And now we're finally starting to understand the science behind it.
Exactly. It's like we're connecting the dots between ancient wisdom and modern research.
And that brings us back to our question from last time.
Hmm.
How can you actually use sauna therapy in your life?
Right. We've talked about the benefits, the different types, the safety stuff. Now what?
Well, if you're thinking about giving it a try, the first step is to see what's available in your area.
Okay, so do some research, find some saunas.
Exactly. But think about what kind of experience you want.
Like traditional sauna, infrared sauna.
Right. Or maybe even weigh-on therapy, if you can find it.
Yeah, lots of options. And what about the place itself?
Yeah, that's important too. Some saunas are very basic. Others have extra stuff like cold plunges or relaxation areas.
Like choosing a gym, you want to find a place that feels good.
Exactly. And of course, think about the cost and how easy it is to get there.
Right. Got to fit it into your budget and your schedule.
And don't forget to read reviews, ask friends for recommendations.
Word of mouth is always helpful. Okay, so you found a sauna, you're ready for your first visit. What now?
As always, talk to your doctor first, especially if you have any health concerns.
Safety first.
And even if you're perfectly healthy, start slow, listen to your body,
Don't overdo it.
right, ease into it,
Yeah.
and stay hydrated. Lots of water.
And if you feel dizzy or anything, get out.
Absolutely. No need to be a hero. Okay, so now you know how to find a sauna and what to expect on your first visit.
But what about long term? Do you need to do it every day to see the benefits?
That's a good question. It really depends.
On what?
Well, your goals, your preferences. Some people do it a few times a week. Others make it a daily thing.
And the type of sauna probably matters too, right?
It does. Traditional saunas are usually shorter sessions, like 15–20 minutes. Infrared saunas can be longer, maybe 30–45 minutes.
You got to find what works for you.
Exactly. But the key is consistency. Even once a week is better than nothing. Just make it a regular habit.
Like brushing your teeth, but more relaxing.
Exactly. And I think that's a great takeaway. Sauna therapy is powerful, but it's also about slowing down, taking a break from the stress.
Enjoying the moment.
Exactly. So to all our listeners out there, we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into sauna therapy. We encourage you to try it out, see what it can do for you.
It's an ancient practice with so much to offer. Stay curious, stay well, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.